married for 50 years. These psychologists who study love share what they've learned to do and not to do to stay happy. When Elaine Spaulding met Arthur Aron in class at the University of California, Berkeley, in the late 1960s, she was conflicted. Both were studying social psychology. Elaine was in her final year of undergraduate coursework, and Arthur was just beginning his doctoral program. With a torn t-shirt and long hair, Arthur was the teaching assistant for her class. "I thought he was quite interesting and exciting," Elaine said. Still, she said that she didn't like how he ran the class. But when walking out after the last class, Elaine said, "He stops me and says, 'I think I'm having some feelings for you.'" They looked at each other and kissed, Arthur, 79, recalled recently with a smile. "And we fell madly in love," said Elaine, 80, remembering that kiss near Telegraph Avenue, the famous thoroughfare that symbolizes Berkeley. "It was very passionate. We have a lot of feelings about that. It was such a passionate time, Berkeley in the 60s. Everything was very intense. The two became a couple personally and professionally. Psychologists who dedicated their lives studying relationships and love. It would be another 30 years before they would co-author the 1997 study behind the 36 questions that lead to love. That list of questions was popularized in a 2015 essay for the New York Times Modern Love column. To fall in love with anyone, do this. The Arons will celebrate 50 years of marriage on February 13th among friends and family in Mexico City. And it's the years they have spent together. That can probably tell you as much about keeping the love alive as those questions. Who needs a marriage license? After that first kiss, things between Elaine and Arthur moved quickly. They got lunch, began seeing each other consistently and, a few months later, moved in together. Shortly afterward, they headed to Canada so they could continue graduate school in Toronto, with the expectation that Arthur eventually would be drafted if they stayed in the United States. As part of the rebellious spirit prevalent in the 1960s, they had never been keen on getting married. Before meeting each other, they had each been married to other people when they were 19. "That's just a pretty dumb age to think you know what you're doing," Elaine said on reflection. After admitting they had made mistakes in the past, neither wanted to go through marriage again. "At Berkeley, we'd go around and say we were married. We just wouldn't say that we were married to other people," Elaine remembered with a laugh. Don't let marriage get in the way. It wasn't until nearly a decade later that they began to rethink the idea when their 4-year-old son popped the question. "He came home one day, and he asked us what a bastard was," Elaine said, "and we decided we'd better get married." After living together 7 years and having a child, they finally got married in the mid-1970s. Arthur remembers receiving some sage words from his rabbi on his wedding day. He said, "Don't let getting married interfere with your relationship." More than 5 decades after first meeting, the Arons are still together, living in Northern California, doing research and including their personal experiences in lectures on relationships, especially regarding praise and conflict. In fact, Elaine shared that they nearly broke up a couple of times. "I call it dividing the furniture when you start trying to figure out how you're going to live when you're apart from each other," she said. "But we really learned something. Take time to listen to each other. One big mistake they believe people make is not properly listening to one another, so they set up rules to follow during an argument. One person would talk for 5 minutes, and the other person would not interrupt, not say a word. Just listen," Elaine said. "You can take notes if you disagree, but you can't say anything." Then the other person would get the same amount of time and allow for a rebuttal before they would table the discussion for 24 hours. "What happens is you're forced to see how much pain you're causing the other person," Elaine said. "When you face the pain you're causing, then it really makes you think about what you're doing and whether you want to keep doing it." Partners may also need to ask for outside help, they both said. At points throughout their marriage, Elaine has gone through hardships and seen a therapist. "It made her feel much better, and it made our relationship better," Arthur said. "It's so tempting to leave," Elaine said. "And I have friends who left their marriages in their 50s and 60s. Now, they wish they were married because, at a certain point, it's really good to have a partner. But it has to be someone that you really respect and like and get along. It does help that their research keeps their relationship healthy. They recently can do